Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast, presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the MitsuTimes podcast. My guest today, Mr. Sean Evans. He is the owner and driver of a very cool, very unique 1G. Probably seen it on some of the Facebook posts lately. How are you today, Sean?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm a drag racer DSM guy at my core, but to see someone doing something different with a DSM always, kind of perks my ears up, and it's something that I absolutely love to see. So, what you're doing with your 1G is just so cool.
That's awesome.
I honestly couldn't wait to have you on because I feel like nobody is out, taking these things around the circuit anymore.
I rarely see it. I barely see Evos, definitely, much less a 1G or a 2G.
For sure. Well, Sean, let's get right into it. How did you get into this HPDE type driving and performance driving events in general with this car?
Well, I've been in Arizona pretty much my whole life, and I moved out to Casa Grande, Arizona, and met a small group of guys out here that took trips to Tucson and ran the Musselman Honda circuit out there. They still do HPDE days once a month out there. It's a really small kart track, but they let you go out there and just, no sessions, kind of a free for all. They do like a little bit of a tech, and you just take your car out there and cruise around the tracks. They convinced me to go, and actually the first car I took out there, the only one that was running at the time was a 2000 RAV4 all-wheel drive 5-speed, and I just put some sticky tires I had from my Super that was sitting in the garage. And that kind of started it. I was hooked, and just started building the car. I had an all-track at the time. I'm like a diehard Toyota guy, so I had a ST165 I was trying to get together, ran that out there, and I don't know, it just kind of grew from there. And I was a big motorcycle guy in my early 20s, so I raced motorcycles out here at the local, Phoenix tracks, Aurora Seca. And I just always wanted to get on the track, so just ended up that way, meeting these gentlemen out here and kind of getting involved in it.
I was very close to becoming a Toyota guy myself. The Celica All Track is something that I've loved ever since I was a kid. I think I had a Hot Wheels or something of it, and it just the car has always held a special place in my heart. I could just never get my hands on one in my late teens, early 20s.
Yeah. High school, I fell in love with once I found out what it was, and then watching YouTube, people were posting like Group A rally videos of the ST165, and I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I saw a guy with a white ST165 lowered on some T37s, and I was like, I think I was like 16 or 17. I was like, I'm gonna have that one day. So that's what I ended up doing, having the all track, and then I just got burned out on it, and a friend introduced me to Mitsubishis. He's a huge Mitsubishi guy out here. I consider him the encyclopedia of Mitsubishis and DSMs. He has a million of them, and he kind of got me into it. Here I am.
That typically goes one of two ways. Either you're cussing that person for the rest of your life, or you're thankful for that person for the rest of your life.
Dude, you're not kidding. It's a love-hate. I mean, honestly, the Celica wasn't any better, the all-track, and it's just hard to keep running. There's not as much of a following. They made a lot more Eclipses and Talons and everything like that. So he was always teasing me about, the Mitsubishi and the 4G 6.3 being a more robust engine, which it is. I found out it really is. The road car engines, the 3SGTs, are just not as robust as a 4G. And I found that out just running it on the track. It's been pretty reliable once you kind of undo what all the previous owners did to it, and you get it, back to OEM plus, they call it. And it's been pretty reliable.
Good. Well, Sean, how did we make our way from the Toyota into the 1G DSM as your platform of choice for this type of racing?
Okay. My friend, my Mitsubishi buddy out here, he found me a 2G Eclipse first. That's the very first Mitsubishi I had, a 2G uh, Eclipse Spider GST. Towed it home, 600 bucks. The thing was it was nasty. We got it home, fixed it up, all-wheel drive swapped it, and then just later, I mean, it was so fun. I tracked that car, and just at the Musselman Honda circuit, which is crazy. They don't even require you to have a roll bar out there, just a convertible top. You just cruise around the track with the top down. And I fell in love with that car. And then my friend sent me a link on Marketplace, of course, and we found a 1G almost down by the Tucson, Arizona, Mexico border. And it just looked sad sitting out there in the desert. It was a complete car, just kind of a little rough. The paint's rough on it. So I went down there to look at it, and my friend was like, "We can get this running in like a day." So we went back down there. I think we paid 1,200 bucks for it. Complete car with a title. Brought it
Okay.
back, and he wasn't kidding. We got it running. It just was rough. It had an engine fire. Somebody, literally, the engine harness, every wire in the engine harness had a butt connector. So it was just like this fat bundle of butt connectors connecting the engine harness together because it all caught on fire. Looked like they had arced the battery terminals on the underside of the hood, and then it just went, you know, looked like they got it out, but it burnt the top timing, upper timing cover, and little bits and pieces. We just put some O-rings on the ends of the fuel rail and put a battery in it and a couple things, and it ran. So, and honestly, it sat. It was I was going to get to it. It was kind of in my rotation of project cars I've got, and so eventually my friend convinced me. He's like, let's put we'll put a Hall Tech in it. We'll put a new Hall Tech in it, and you'll love it. It'll be awesome. So he convinced me to put an S2. We got an S2 in it, drive-by-wire throttle body from like a Mitsubishi Endeavor. It just drives so nice now. It just drives like a modern car, with the Hall Tech and the drive-by-wire in it, with the electronic throttle pedal. I don't know. I couldn't be happier with it, honestly. I mean, it's a 91, but you wouldn't notice it driving down the road. It's so smooth. I found a set of Evo double adjustables from Fortune on Black Friday for like 1,700 bucks. Picked those up, threw them on the car, and it's just been, I don't know. Now I'm hooked. I've just been spending too much money on it, trying to get it nice and get it reliable. It's just an awesome car. So
Good. And you talked about it being so comfortable and reliable. I feel like that builds a lot of confidence when it comes to races like this, right? I mean, if you get so comfortable behind the wheel, you're going to be a lot more, whenever you go to send it in the corners, you're going to have a lot more confidence that it's going to go where you want it to go.
yeah, I mean, I love the vehicles that have racing pedigree, and I found out about the Archer brothers, racing these 1G Talons and SCCA and all that, and I was like, man, so this really is an awesome platform. And of course, my friend here local was convincing me to do it too, and I got it out on the track, and little to no setup on the coilovers and rear sway bar, and like a Galant rear sway bar. That thing, I don't know, it's so stable. Like I said, little to no setup. Ride height, I don't even think I set up the bump stops. The thing is just amazing. It's that last track event that I posted was just a small, the fast guys are running low 50s, 50-second laps. It's just an awesome. It's got little elevation changes on that track, and you're kind of bumping around with those harsh coilovers. They're pretty firm, but man, that car is such a good platform. I never would have known. I'm so glad I got into it because I love it.
Good. I mean, we're certainly glad you got into it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have you posting these awesome pictures and inspiring other people to want to go out there and give it a shot with their 1G.
Yeah, I hope I do that because everybody out here inspiring me to get on the track. I'm just blessed to pay it forward, I guess. Yeah.
Well, Sean, you started with the 2G, then went to this car. Did you already know when you picked up this 1G that this was the type of racing that you wanted to do with it?
Yeah. I'd already done HPDE out here. These gentlemen built an awesome racetrack in Casa Grande, the Podium Club, and it's amazing. Proper racetrack, really cool elevation changes, awesome. And I knew, I was like, I have to get involved in this and start with NASA. And so I just did the HPD one with the instructor, and I mean, it was awesome. I can't speak enough about how awesome NASA is. And so I knew eventually I was going to get me a car that was, we could start cheap and build our way up slowly, adding parts to it. And so that's what we ended up doing. I mean, I'll say slowly, but once I got the coilovers for it, and then we bought a Hall Tech for it, and it just started snowballing from there, really. It started going pretty quick. Once I started driving it, I was like, man, this is going to be a great platform. So yeah, I mean, yeah, from day one, I knew I wanted a cheap project car to do HPDE and then get into TT with it and run like TT5 is my goal.
Well, Sean, we've talked about a lot of parts so far, Haltech and these sway bars and everything else. Why don't you talk us a little bit through the setup on the car currently?
Yeah, right now I have, let's say from the ground up, I'm just running, I have a set of NTO1s for it. I also run these Armstrong Blue Track Race. They're like a 200 tread wear tire that was pretty cheap online during Black Friday. Threw those on there. NTO ones are better, but these are a cheap alternative. I've got a set of RPF 1 17x9 plus 35, and that's like street setup. And I have an also set of a 17x9 plus 27 offset wheels, and those are supposed to be like the perfect scrub radius for this car that some gentleman figured out back in the day on DSM tuners. And so and then we have, let's see, we have the Evo 8 double adjustable fortunes that are on there. And I modified the rear coilovers to fit the 1G, and then I just adapted the uppers to the DSM. Shamefully, I drilled 2 new holes in the upper strut mount to mount them, but they work. The car doesn't seem to care, so that's how we modified that together. And basically, the engine is just we pulled the head off, refreshed the valves so they don't leak. Just basic, cheap setup. The whole front of the engine leaked like crazy when we got it. Pulled it all apart. Found out that some previous mechanic had RTV'd every gasket on the oil pump. There was so much RTV in the oil pan and the oil pickup, it would make a BRZ jealous. Like there was so much RTV everywhere. So let's see. OEM 14B turbo, 7 centimeter hot side. And the only reason we put that on there is because it was had less cracks in it than the 14B hot side. Um, FP exhaust manifold. I think I'm running 20 psi right now. Stock trans, everything. So it's pretty basic, man. It's pretty basic.
Well, I guess if you keep it as basic as possible, less things can break, huh?
Yes, keep it simple. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, Sean, so what's been the biggest challenge in making a 1G DSM competitive in these HPDE events?
Well, I think I touched on it a little bit, just trying to make it more reliable and pretty much just fix everything that I mean, it's not, it's no fault of the car. It really is just people in the past who have got their hands in it, tinkering with things that probably shouldn't be touching tools, working on the car and just trying to get it back to like OEM spec and get it reliable. And so that I can do, the goal is to do every session from, pulling out onto the grid, to your last lap out there when you see the checker flag and you pull in. That's like, to me, that's the biggest challenge is just making it reliable so that I can go out there and do, I want to do hot laps every lap out there, but it's just not, I don't want to kill the car. You know what I mean? So I'll do 5, 6 like hot laps, make sure because with the Hall Tech, we got to set up to where, I don't even have a gauge in the car. I have OEM gauges. I just set the Hall Tech ups with all the safeties. So if the temp reaches, over, I don't know what I have it set at 230, 230 degrees, then the check engine light will flash at you. So I just go out there and do hot laps until I see a check engine light, and then I'll back off until the check engine light goes out, and then just do some more hot laps when it cools off. But like I said, just reliability. That's the biggest thing. Putting all OEM spec parts back on it.
This episode of the MitsuTimes podcast is brought to you by Darren Thomas Racing. They're an automotive performance and engine service shop located in the Oklahoma City metro area. They have specialized in the DSM platform for the last 20 years, but are not limited to only DSMs. They offer in-house machine work, full performance builds, repairs, and tuning. They are best known for their automatic transmission repairs and service. Some of the quickest auto Mitsubishis on our list rely on Darren Thomas Racing transmissions. Contact them on Instagram or Facebook at Darren Thomas Racing.
So, Sean, in your opinion, what track has exposed the most weaknesses in this 1G or the setup that you currently have in this HPDE type racing?
It's definitely the longer tracks with the longer straightaways. Just because I think with turbo cars, you're always fighting heat, and even though it's a OEM turbo, after I did Cerakote the turbo manifold, things like that, but it's probably going to be the bigger, longer tracks like Podium Club out here in Arizona with the long straightaway. And then I found even say Musselman Honda circuit where it's really tight, couple bus stop corners, tighter tracks. You got to have some really awesome fans to keep the car cool because you're not moving much air through the radiator on those smaller, slower tracks.
Well, and on the opposite end of that, which track do you find works the best? Is it those tight and technical ones?
The like Musselman is a cool track, but I enjoy the faster tracks. Like Podium Club is amazing because the 1G is just so stable in transitions. It's got big sweepers, like fast sweepers, which I really love. Um, and then the event that I just did, it's a small track, but it flows so nicely. In my opinion, it's such an awesome little course. It just flows so good. There's not like really bus stops where you're jamming on the brakes, turning hard, and then you know gassing out of the corner from a real slow speed. It just flows so well. I like a nice flow, and the little kart track at Musselman, it's hard to get into a good flow. But yeah, like Podium Club, man, I can't sing enough praises about that track. It's amazing. For anybody out in Arizona and you're thinking about getting on the track, that's one of the best ones. And like I said, the 1G, it does so good. I don't know if it's the coilovers or the tires or what it is, but in the transitions, like fast sweepers, it is just so stable. Usually fast transitions, I can get my other cars to kind of like weight transfer and oversteer. And this one is a lot of it's driver too being smooth, but the 1G will pretty much save you. It's pretty stable in my opinion.
Well, Sean, is there like one corner or one section where you feel that this car is just absolutely nailing it? Is it those long sweepers that you talked about that you like so much?
Yeah, for me, when you have and I'm no expert, but I enjoy, multiple left right transitions, elevation changes, and when you have a stable car that's set up nice, whether this one is or not. I mean, like I said, it's not much setup time. It's just when you're making those transitions from left and right, and the car is getting light, maybe over an elevation change, it has a tendency to the weight transfer and suspension gets upset and you start sliding around. And to me, this car's been very stable like that. So really like right to lefts. And like I said, I love those sections. So when you can nail that in the 1G and it's super stable, it's like the best feeling.
Well, now, Sean, that you've been doing this, for a little while, how much of your pace and improvement comes from the setup of the car versus the just your raw skills at this point?
Oh man, it's I'd say 90% of it is just seat time, man. It's just getting out there, getting on the track, learning where to be on the track. Just coming from motorcycles when I was real young, I've always been taught smooth is fast. And on a motorcycle, that's just crucial because if you're not smooth and you're chopping the throttle, you're making, sharp, harsh inputs, and you can upset the suspension, low side, high side on the gas. So you just kind of that all transfers into driving cars fast. Same thing, smooth is fast. I mean, I may not be the fastest out there, but I pride myself in trying to just be smooth around the track, trail brake into the apex, on the throttle. I've had instructors with motorcycles telling me if you end up somewhere on the track where you didn't plan to be, that's a crash. In your head, just think of it as like that. If you end up somewhere where you didn't plan to be, just even though you didn't run off the track and fall off your motorcycle or crash your car, just like, hey, I wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't plan to be there, so it's a crash. So just knowing where you're supposed to be out there and learning the trail braking and just corner exit and just being smooth. To me, that is 90% of it, and then making sure your lug nuts are tight and you got air in the tires. That's the rest of it for me. I honestly spend very little time messing with the car. We'll do an alignment on it and make sure the toe is pretty much zero and the ride height's good. Man, I just go out there and send it, and then once my skills are up to par, I feel like, and I become more competitive, then I do believe that car setup is going to be more crucial.
Yeah, I feel like that makes a lot of sense when you explain it like that.
Yes, sir.
Well, Sean, what's the first thing that you adjust when your car doesn't feel quite right out there on the track?
I think I got to adjust myself usually. Yeah, I'll pull in and just check the tire pressures, things like that. I mean, just, boneheaded moves. You go out there, you're excited to get on the track, and you come back in, and you're like, oh my God, I've got 40 pounds of air in my tires. Something ridiculous, and you come back out and you're like, I need to let 10 pounds of air or more out of the tires. Just basic stuff, if the car's understeering or just anything like that. For me, it, but all-wheel drive car like that with an OEM viscous diff, it's going to have a tendency to understeer out of a corner. I mean, it trail brakes really good and rotates really nicely into a corner, but on throttle, if you get on the throttle too early or anything like that, it'll understeer out of the corner. So I think just, coming in, do a couple laps, do your first session, take it easy, and then come in and check the car over and make sure your lug nuts are tight. Like I said, check the air pressures, things like that. I personally am not experienced enough to come in and like, oh, hey, I need to adjust ride height or adjust the sway bar or things like that. I'm not that far along to where I could just tell exactly what I need to do. So that's why I got friends. I ask like, hey, the car is understeering here. It's not rotating or it's rotating too much and then oversteering. I saw you just had a podcast with Tony at UMS. I mean, there's so many gentlemen out there on the track that you ask and they're willing to help you. So I'm learning. I'm still learning all that.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Sean, the way you describe it, I feel like sometimes the adjusting yourself might even be more difficult than adjusting the car.
But yeah. I mean, your worst enemy out there is yourself. Like I said, you're just, it's making sure like I said, making sure you didn't leave a set of side cutters under the hood, the basic things like that. That's you're on the track and you hear something fumble underneath the car and you're like, my God, hope I still have a ratchet when I come back in, just things like that. It's just, like you said, you get excited and you calm down, you get in a groove and just flow out there. That's the best.
Certainly been there before.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Well, Sean, at this point, are you focusing more on outright grip, balance, consistency, or are you just focused on seat time at this point?
Yeah, my goal is consistency. And I'd love to, go out there and run laps within a few tenths of each other. Like to me, that would be the ultimate is to go out there and just be consistent, have the car do consistent hot laps without, cooking a piston or just, you run a little bit, AFR is a little bit more rich and it's not set up like a drag car. I'm not out there max effort. Timing's not as high. AFRs are a little bit lower. I think I'm like 11, a little like 11.2 on the AFRs, like all the way across from whatever 2,500 to 7K. Keep the engine running cool. Yeah, consistency, reliability. That's what I'm after right now. Because when the car doesn't break, you get more track time. So that's my goal.
Yeah, that's very true. I guess that's something that kind of goes, unnoticed. The more it holds together, the more time you get to spend out on the track.
Definitely. My favorite thing to do, and that's all I can think about. So I don't want to break it.
For sure. The seat time in the pits doesn't count.
It does not, no.
Well, Sean, how do you personally measure success in HPD with this car? You talked about consistency. Is it that you would say if you left the track and you were just consistent, say, hey, that was a successful outing?
Man, I mean, just for HPDE, which isn't competitive in any way, you're just out there trying to learn. And your goal is, or at least my goal is to move up from HPD into time trial and compete. So HPD for me and being successful is going out there on the track and not being a goon and running off the track and, blocking people, not giving point buys. So for me, a successful outing on the track in HPDE is not being in the way, not being a liability, not doing something stupid and ruining everybody else's time at the track. It's just so embarrassing when you do that. So it's like just going out there and being consistent and just improve, your personal best anytime you're out there. Whether it may not be quicker lap times. It may just be, hey, I'm smoother into this corner, and I'm hitting the apex here where I wasn't before, and just focusing on little things like that on the track. So you might just focus on one or two corners out there and get better at that, and then eventually you string everything together, and you're like, man, I just knocked my PB by half a second or something.
Yeah, sure. I think most of us can relate with that. There was a point in time where I think my second or third time down the drag strip, I didn't tighten something up and oil down the track, and I felt like going home because I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah. Setting your car on fire on the track, that sucks. Things like that. Just causing everybody not, to lose track time is embarrassing. So I try not to be a liability.
Well, Sean, what has been your biggest breakthrough moment as a driver in these events?
I mean, I guess just moving through the HPD from one up to, I've probably been in HPD three too long. I've done quite a few sessions in HPD three, and they do little, the instructors the leaders in those groups. They'll do drills on the track, things like that, and just kind of being recognized as like, yeah, hey, this guy's not a liability on track. Like you can move him up, he's safe, things like that. So just kind of getting a little bit of recognition like that, and they know you out there not as a goon, and you can go up and into HPD 4 and then on into TT. So yeah, I mean, just doing that, just doing laps and making. For me, it's like signing up for a weekend and then you make the whole weekend. Your car doesn't break and you don't run off the track. So that's yeah.
Well, Sean, I didn't prep you for this question, but what are some events that you plan to attend this year that maybe people can come out and see this car in action?
Well, my next event, the next NASA event, I've only been running with NASA lately, and so the next event is May 2nd and 3rd in Wilcox, Arizona. I mean, it's really in the middle of nowhere, but it's at Indy Motorsports Ranch, and that track is insane. If you go look that up and watch some in-car videos, it's like a roller coaster. There's blind corners, there's hills. It's hard to appreciate till you get out there. I've seen many videos of it, just trying to get learned up on how to drive the course, watching other people's in cars. And so I'll be at, and yeah, it's amazing racetrack, amazing facility, just amazing. And so Indy, I don't know if I'm doing any June, July, August track days because I live in Arizona, and I the ladies and gentlemen that go out there and they race in that heat, they're better than me because I can't do that. So plus I don't think the car would last through that heat. But let's see, events at the back end of summer, pretty sure I'll be doing Podium Club, and I think that's in November, December. And Podium Club is also an amazing track. It's great. And it's in Casa Grande, Arizona. So unfortunately, we're kind of out in the boonies. But if you're in Phoenix, anywhere in that area, I would come out. It's a good time.
It seems to be no shortage of these types of tracks out there in the West Coast, Southwest, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, and then if you include California and you don't mind, throwing your car in a trailer, cruising across state lines, there's amazing tracks. Chuckwalla, what is it? Button Willow, I don't know. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but there's a lot of good courses out there. I think I'm pretty sure NASA AZ does Chuckwalla. I've just not been out there with NASA yet, and I've been on Chuckwalla in a motorcycle, and that's an amazing course. So hoping to get the 1G out there eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Sean, where can people find and follow you on social media so they can see what you're doing with this 1G?
I do have Instagram. I Ruin Cars at I Ruin Cars, and then my Facebook is just Sean Evans. So I usually post. I've been posting up a lot about the 1G on my Facebook and Instagram recently. I've been pretty excited about it, so I'd probably overshare.
No, I think doing something different. We need more share. I know it's not easy, but I feel like this would be a perfect opportunity for, a YouTube channel kind of thing to see what you're doing and how you're doing it and, what you're kind of going through on a day-to-day basis. So maybe more people would be inclined to go out and try it themselves.
Yeah, yeah, I hope they do. I mean, like I said, it doesn't take much. Like every car, almost any car can be a road race car. Like just, I've got friends out here who I try to get to the track and they're like, "Oh, I need this. I need to get a sway bar, and I need to get this suspension and these brakes." I'm like, "No, just bring the car out to the track, and have fun with it."
No, I mean, I feel like we hear that a lot in other types of racing, right? Like, "Oh, no, I got to get this part, or I know it's going to be slow and blah blah blah." Just go out there and do it. Uh, Yeah, that'll get you hooked right there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Sean, at the end, I always give people a chance to give a thanks or a shout out to anybody who's helped get their car where it is, or anybody who's helped them get where they are in life. Is there anybody that you want to give a thanks or a shout out to?
Definitely. I mentioned him here before. Tyler Anderson, this gentleman here in Casa Grande, he holds it down for like the Southwest when it comes to DSMs. He's got Evos and 4G swap Summit Eagle and a 4G swap Mighty Max. All of them have hull techs. The guy's just insane when it comes to building these cars. I think his Summit makes like 450 wheel. It's retarded. I mean, we just rode in it yesterday. So I have Tim to thank for all of this. He keeps me motivated. He's always bothering me. What'd you do on the car? Did you work on the car? Like just to keeping me going. I mean, he wired up my 1G with the Hall Tech and helped me get that going. I mean, it's not a Mitsubishi, but I mean, he put a Hall Tech in my Supra. Dude's just insane. So I have him to thank for getting me into the Mitsubishis. And also, I've spent a lot of time on DSM tuners and all those gentlemen on there who have anything to do with the autocross, the road racing. I've read all their posts trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing with this car. And so all of that has been a huge help. And then you got to thank NASA AZ because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be on the track. So, and then Tony at UMS, Ravi at We Don't Lift Racing, all of the, organizations in Arizona here that support the everybody's racing habit. So, and then thank you for giving me the opportunity to just ramble on your podcast. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We love having you. And, Sean, I have to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and share your story. I know we've had some technical difficulties today, and I appreciate you having the patience to stick it out and, get this thing recorded so we can send it out. And I know I've said it multiple times, but I hope that we can inspire some people to take their car out there and try these HPD events. And, maybe drag racing is not your thing. You live out there in the West Coast where these tracks are plentiful. Just go out there and give it a shot and maybe reach out to Sean or Tony and get some tips. And, I know it's scary to go out there for the first time, but it's like the, you got to take the first step.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to talk to the guy in the pit next to you. Walk up to a guy wrenching on his car and throwing a screwdriver, ask him what he's doing and how to get involved. And, it'll be a good time.
Yep, that's often the scariest part. I know it is, speaking from experience, before you go out and do your first time, it's kind of nerve wracking that you're going to go out there and fall on your face in front of everybody.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. You just keep trying. So
absolutely. Well, Sean, thank you again. And, I hope you have a great night and keep in touch. Hopefully we can, see some more of this car in action.
I will. I'll be posting it up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.